Okay, welcome back. For the last session this afternoon, I'm very happy to welcome a very old friend of Invest Hong Kong's. Hugh Chow is CEO of ASTRI, which stands for Advanced Science and Technology Research Institute. ASTRI is one of 5 government-funded R&D centers in Hong Kong and works very closely with industry to upgrade their technology levels. A few numbers about ASTRI. They have over 1,000 patents filed in the mainland US and other countries, of which over 800 have been granted. They have over 500 R&D engineers in Hong Kong, which must be one of the highest concentrations of R&D engineers anywhere in Hong Kong. Their key technology areas include smart city, financial technologies, intelligent manufacturing, health technologies, and application-specific integrated circuits. So that's part of their DNA in electronics. ASTRI combines excellence in sensors, artificial intelligence, and next-generation network and security technologies to improve the way a city operates, shares information, and ultimately improves the quality of life of its residents. It is well placed, therefore, to help Hong Kong companies develop technologies to capitalize on the opportunities for a smart city. Rex Wong, I'm very happy to welcome, is Executive Director and CEO of KUMSHING. Founded in 1963, KUMSHING has been playing a leading role in the development, operation, and maintenance of Hong Kong's economy through energy and mobility infrastructure maintenance. With over 2,000 employees in locations across the region, so not just in Hong Kong, and multi-billion-dollar contracts, KUMSHING offers a full range of customized and specialist services to power utilities, transportation, the public sector clients, including CLP Power, Hong Kong Electric, and MTR Corporation. The talk this afternoon is how ASTRI Technologies enables our smart city. So over to you, Hugh. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and great introductions, my friend at Invest Hong Kong. In fact, you know what? I don't think I need to introduce ASTRI anymore. I think that's really what we do. But I'm very excited today with my great friend Rex. So why don't we just get right to it? Okay. So let's talk about smart city. I mean, we always hear these terms about smart city. So but we walk around the city, we don't feel a lot of smartness. And obviously for anything that's at the city scale, you need quite a bit of investment. So Rex, just tell us a bit about what KUMSHING is doing right now as far as investing into making the city smart.
Hugh, thanks for the invitation to join you at this very meaningful talk. As our moderator introduced, KUMSHING has been helping to develop the Hong Kong infrastructure, especially the energy and mobility infrastructure, for nearly 6 decades. So in terms of infrastructure in Hong Kong, it's something that we're very proud of. Hong Kong's infrastructure, every time it's ranked around the world, it's at the very top, and we are proud to be a part of that success. But as Hugh pointed out, nowadays it's about transforming the city to become a smart city. So what that means for KUMSHING is actually an enormous opportunity, because all this extra layer of infrastructure is going to have to merge with the existing urban infrastructure around the city. And one of the key strengths that we have is implementing projects in a very congested existing urban environment, typically what's called the brownfield environment. So in order to do these smart city initiatives, you need to physically install these infrastructure in this kind of very challenging environment. And this is exactly the skill that a company like KUMSHING has. And as Hugh mentioned, in terms of investment, you don't want to invest in the last generation of technology. You want to invest in the future technology. And in terms of implementing these projects in the city, it's important to do it fast. And having that ability to implement projects quickly and in a network, all the pieces, not just a single application, is something that is very crucial to seeing these technologies being deployed fully. So I think for KUMSHING's role, we see ourselves as the traditional builder who is able to build this past infrastructure and continue to build the infrastructure. But going forward with the needs of the smart city, I think there's a bigger role for us to play.
Well, I think Rex is very modest. I mean, he kept talking about KUMSHING being traditional. they're way more than just traditional. In fact, I just learned that they're investing not just in all the traditional electric grid and power supply and even communications. You guys are also investing in the ecosystem. So tell us a bit about that.
And thanks to partnerships such as with Hugh, with ASTRI. Again, the traditional role is the builder role, but we see ourselves as a Hong Kong company now having the opportunity to also take on additional role in a smart city development as an integrator of technology and also as an enabler to deploy these technology. So as Hugh was suggesting, some of the examples that we're able to do utilizing our key expertise in implementation is to help the project owners who are the infrastructure asset owner and operator to early on in the deployment of these assets to take into the different ways of designing and planning, but also testing it on the field. So making sure these technology are field tested and proven. So the ways that we could play a role in the ecosystem is to help to bring these technology startups together with the project owner, which is the utility of the government departments, and then also our knowledge of the local stakeholders, the users, the citizens, and then to work together with them to come up with these solutions. Recently, we have just done something like that at the airport. I think we all know the airport is now launching its full 5G network, and that is a project for another company. But we did play a role earlier on in terms of helping the airport to design and specify that 5G infrastructure. So we helped them look at the various possibility of installing these 5G infrastructure in the existing locations as well as some new locations to combine to have that best effect, the optimal 5G effect. So utilizing some of that knowledge from this project we've done for the airport, now they have already deployed the full-scale project. So these are ways that I think we can work together with different players within the ecosystem. And some of these technologies, of course, also are very much ASTRI's expertise, and we were proud to be able to also collaborate with some of those key technology players with ASTRI's support.
Well, thank you, Rex. So, Rex talked about the airport. In fact, ASTRI did play a big part in making our airport smart. I personally sit on the technical advisory board of the Hong Kong Airport Authority. And a few years back at ASTRI, we actually helped airport implemented the private network. And I think most recently, end of last year, in fact, airport deployed the world first autonomous cargo vehicle. It runs on a what you would call a vehicle to everything network. That's also powered by some of the ASTRI technology. Now, I want to just do a bit of commercial for ASTRI. Not that Invest Hong Kong's friends hasn't done enough of that. We focus on helping the ecosystem. So a good friend like Rex and KUMSHING, and also the airport, whether it's government agency or private sectors, whether you're Fortune 500 or startup, we help them all. And our goal is to make sure that through the technology that we have, we help Hong Kong to bring up our competitiveness. So 5G is one area that we focus a great deal in. In fact, ASTRI, we're the only voting member on the 3GPP standard, and we are very happy in representing Hong Kong that way. At the same time, we also rolling out a lot of technology that really help the deployment of 5G, whether it's in the O-RAN or in the private network. And my great friend here, Rex, I think we have a lot of in common, as far as really focusing on what we do to make Hong Kong smart. But I also believe that having the city by itself smart, it just one element. Ultimately, we have to have the people, the talent that goes behind it. So Rex, what are you guys doing right now in terms of building the community, building the talent base, making sure that not just the city itself is smart?
One thing is, thanks to platforms such as this one by Invest Hong Kong, we can get the message out, that we are more than a construction engineering enterprise. We are actually, as I was mentioning, integrating startups technology offering to project owners. And another way for us to look at the opportunity for talents, as Q mentioned, is that we have to rethink our current engagement. So as mentioned, this sort of multi-billion-dollar contracts that we are engaged in the past, they may just be commitments in terms of delivering projects, in terms of quality and safety, on time and budget. But nowadays we can look at it differently. In addition to that, we can also look at this multi-billion-dollar activity as a platform to apply technology. So this is technology from startups. It's also in-house. We have teams who are doing R&D to look at better ways of doing the project, and also introduce additional ways to enhance that infrastructure to ultimately benefit the citizens. So in terms of technology that the ASTRI has developed, I understand one of the common things that we share very much is in terms of safety, traffic safety. And I learned that in the ASTRI V2X, one of the principal drive is to try to majorly, enhance the road safety. And then we all know there's traffic accident every day, and a lot of people got hurt. And from what I learned, more than 97% safety can be enhanced. So maybe actually I want to ask you about this area, what you can share more with us here in terms of this.
Sure. I'd love to. I can talk all day when it comes to deploying technology that helps Hong Kong. I wouldn't take the 96% so seriously. In fact, it was a number that was cited by some of the news agency. But it's really about I always tell people what really makes a city smart. Okay, what does a smart city look like? The first thing I think about is that it's safe. The second thing I think about is that it's efficient. And number three is that everyone in the city would have a very high quality of life, at least as far as, their perception is concerned. But safety always goes first. One of the projects that ASTRI has pioneered, and in fact, we've been doing it quietly over the last 5 years, and we first did it in Science Park, a little confined area, and then we took it overseas, a city level deployment, and then some of the engineer at our transport department went with us and go, hey, you know what? Listen, that's Hong Kong technology. Why are we not using it in Hong Kong? So this year, finally, we bring that technology back. We're gonna have a trial, thanks to the Innovation Technology Fund. That's the fund behind it. You can see it in one of the area. I'm gonna keep it close to myself for now, but you're gonna see one of the area. We're gonna have 14 kilometers of public road. You're gonna have vehicle-to-vehicle connection, vehicle-to-infrastructure connection, vehicle-to-pedestrian connections. Number one, making it safe. Number two, making it efficient. So when the time comes, Rex, if you want to install one of the onboard unit, we'll be happy to give you one. But I want to go beyond just smart traffic. Okay, so traffic being smart is about safety. But what else can be smart in the city, Rex?
I can share some of the projects that we have been able to work with different technology startups in terms of applying in the existing urban infrastructure. So one example, we have these contracts to maintain and operate the overhead power lines in around the new territories. So in the past, you can imagine this transmission cable from the power utility is very crucial because it brings non-fossil fuel generated electricity to Hong Kong. So it's a low carbon, a green key piece of infrastructure in a smart city. So for our part to help to maintain and operate this overhead line power infrastructure, in the past we rely a lot on people. So we have people going out to the up in the hills and then climbing the tower to check out the different key components, making sure they are all sound. But nowadays, we're collaborating with a startup who is using drone technology and using AI for inspection. They fly the drones up there, taking images and having the different detection methods, and then coming back to their software to do the AI analytics, and then they have very highly reliable report. So we can use that information to target the effort in terms of where we put our resources to do the preventive maintenance. So this is one area that we work with this one startup, for example. And some other examples would be we manage a lot of the street light systems in Hong Kong. So this is something that's essential for both energy and mobility infrastructure. And in the past, you can imagine each of the street lamps, sometimes inevitably because of age, because of the typhoon or different factors, they may go out. So we had to have patrol teams, to going around the city to check out which lamps are down, or we would rely on people, citizens to report, to dial in. But nowadays, with the help of IoT technologies from another startup, we were able to quickly, through RFID, through IoT ways, with a car driving around in the city in a broad area, they can automatically have the signal of which lamps are out and what kind of defects they have. So we can quickly mobilize resources to put them back up. So in the past, we had to, again, have the petrol car to look and then to park right next to the lamp to take down the number and then to send people. So the whole process of making sure our infrastructure is continued to be highly reliable and keep at a high level, using these sort of new technologies, applying them in our existing contracts can definitely help. So as Hugh mentioned, aside from safety, efficiency, I think these are some of the examples that we see in terms of energy and mobility infrastructure, how we can apply technology.
Well, I can tell you that, RFID is a little bit old school. We need to talk more. We have some newer technology. For example, I think we have a lot of research at ASTRI as far as IoT is concerned, LoRa-based or UWB-based. In fact, some of the things that you talked about earlier that I thought, I just want to expand on a little bit. And I think that we have some common interest there about power grid. KUMSHING, they are one of the leaders. But when it comes to the leading technology that really drive reductions of energy or drive some of the transmission loss, with ASTRI, we also invested in some of the third generation semiconductors, really important for renewable energy. Because right now, a lot of people will probably see the solar panel, a wind farm. You have a lot of DC-DC conversion, DC-AC conversions. Even some of the railroad traffic, there's tremendous opportunity for energy regeneration as well. So we have a lot to work on, later on to make sure that we don't just keep the economy safe, Hong Kong safe, or efficiency. We also talk about sustainability as well. And I think that making sure that we'll leave the better world to our kids. Now, talk about sustainability. What are you guys doing in that area, Rex?
I'll get to that, but I want to also share one example in terms of installing this sort of energy and the power infrastructure related smart city technologies. So one of the projects that we're doing that utilize, again, our core strength, which is implementing projects in an existing, very dense urban environment, which is very challenging. And they have a lot of people you have to satisfy to do something. And it's the installation of smart meters for the utilities. So again, once done, of course, it will be a very powerful network, for the power utility to provide better service to the citizens. But again, going up to each of the residential units, the commercial units to actually implement that change, to talk about getting rid of some older piece of infrastructure, installing it inevitably would bring disruption, to an existing, otherwise status quo, So I think Hugh, you asked about sustainability. I think nowadays we understand this term quite more broadly. In the past, a lot about environmental initiatives, but nowadays, given the events in Hong Kong over the last 12 months, I think what we understood sustainability in terms of also resilience, facing up to human-related destructions or natural disasters such as super typhoon in Hong Kong. And I think our friends from overseas who is watching this, they will know Hong Kong's infrastructure continue to perform at a very high level. People look at pictures, looking at after destruction one day, the next day is continue to operate as normal. And this is all because of the people who are working in the infrastructure sector to making sure the infrastructure always stay at a very high level. And having the use of the technology as the ones that we both suggest will definitely help that, and to help Hong Kong to continue to have that leadership in terms of infrastructure quality. So for us, the sustainability question would be about how we can do more in terms of preparing ourselves for these sort of more needs of being resilient, or in terms of making the city more livable, attracting people to come to Hong Kong, to continue to invest in Hong Kong. So for us to nowadays, we'll look at that in a more broad way.
That's great. And you know what? Earlier you mentioned about having a lot of your people out there inspecting and making sure that the grid and all the traffic light in good conditions. Or, maybe after this program, we can talk about how you may be able to benefit from our AR/VR capability too, because some of the clients of ours actually using that technology, not just to save the manpower, but also to extend the expertise out to the field. Because sometimes, really experienced engineer or inspectors, they're far and few between. If you send one to here, then, what do you do about there? So those technology that maybe you can also consider as well. Now, one of the things that you spoke about earlier that kind of resonated with me is how KUMSHING is actually working with the ecosystem, especially some of these smaller companies, right? So, I mean, you have to be a small company before you're large company. So what we do here at ASTRI, we have this design alliance that's intended to work with some of the company like KUMSHING and larger company that has a tremendous network of or ecosystem, so to speak, a reach, a channel capability, but they don't necessarily want to do all the advanced research. In fact, Hong Kong, a lot of people don't know that we have very vibrant startup community. So how do we bridge the two? And our design alliance is doing exactly that. Now, tell us a bit more about what you guys do in that space, and in particular helping the SME of the Hong Kong ecosystem, Rex.
I'll share how we do, and then I want to also know more about what ASTRI is doing in terms of actually you provide spaces or you have some kind of scheme to help them. So in our part as a private enterprise, again, I made some examples about how we can deploy technologies from the startups. But of course, going further in the longer run in a private enterprise, we looked at other opportunities to support them. For example, nowadays we are looking at startups who are looking for investments. So for these startups, they see the opportunity of KUMSHING as a platform to apply their technology. So the investment of KUMSHING is not just about the money, but also a strategic investment. And also there are, after all, Hong Kong is a financial capital, we have many friends who know what KUMSHING does and now understand the sort of the vision of the company more. And they are approaching us to about starting some kind of investment fund, to also be able to put in resources through a fund to these startups. So I think it's very important to have this entrepreneurship and the startups to continue to drive innovation, and we can help them by letting them understand more about the actual problems and the requirements of the project owners and the challenges on the ground. So these are the role that I think KUMSHING can continue to play from investment all the way to implementation. So this is sort of our approach. Now, ASTRI, what physical, are you giving them space or?
What we do, right?
Yeah, what do you guys do?
Okay. So we don't have space, we don't own any private, we don't own any real estates. We don't have funds, we're not investors. If you want investment, talk to Rex. But what we do have hundreds of researchers, and we solve difficult problems, whether it's AI, big data, 5G, IoT, blockchain, cybersecurity, even microchips. So we have researchers who are going to work on the hardest problem possible. In fact, they are not just researchers that you'll find in university. They solve problems for the society. They address pain point. In fact, for the thousands project that they have done over the last 20 years, oh, by the way, this is our 20th anniversary. So for the thousands projects they've done in the past, you can actually see and feel and touch it in the society. So that's really what sets us apart from some of the other more basic research. one thing that Rex talked about earlier that really resonated with me, he mentioned about friends. That's very important because I think for a city to be smart, it takes a village. It takes an ecosystem. It takes some of the research institutes just like us, even though we're the largest one, but we're just one of the five. We're the humble servants to the society. We also need someone like Rex, they have real business, but at the same time, has the passion to cultivate the smaller and up and coming. We also need, some other industry partners as well. And I want to say this, Invest Hong Kong, great partner of Hong Kong, great ambassador of Hong Kong. And with them and with all the ecosystems, I'm sure that we're going to be very smart in Hong Kong.
Yeah. Actually, turning Hong Kong to become a smart city and having all the benefit of a safer and more efficient lifestyle for everyone, benefiting everyone, is a very noble idea that I think Hugh and I are both very much on board and pushing our organizations to help. But I think from our experience over the last few years, one of the challenge of smart city is convincing the people this is actually good for them, because as we see in Hong Kong in the last year, there's been some kind of challenges of implementing smart lampposts for one example. So I think it's important to have the onboarding with the citizens so they understand and they genuinely really buy into this approach. And I think a government has a role to play. I think Invest Hong Kong, ASTRI, government departments, NGOs, and academia, as well as other professional and trade organizations. I think everybody has a role to play to help to promote and bring out the message of the benefit of smart city, but also to discuss the concerns, namely, I think privacy concern. We have to, I think, face it upfront. So I really appreciate having this sort of opportunity and platform to really exchange.
Yeah, well, that's great. So Rex, you know what? I think we have a few minutes left. Do you want to take some questions? All right, let's do it. Let's do this. We have heard a lot about all the potentials and possibilities of the smart city, but what do you also see as the major challenges? Why do you take that?
Well, I think I did mention a few challenges. One is Hong Kong is one of the densest cities in the world, and we are a developed city. So we have existing infrastructure, existing environment. And when you want to introduce this sort of smart city infrastructure, you have to deal with the existing environment and all the challenges and the disruption that you might bring to the people. Again, in the old days when MTR, the metro line were being built back in the 70s, there were major opposition from the city to deploy metro lines, and then of course they overcame that challenge, and nowadays we can enjoy the benefit of a very efficient subway system in Hong Kong. So I think one of the major challenges I see is even though they're good concepts, how can you actually deploy them not only as a proof of concept level, but also from the proof of concept all the way to a full-scale deployment, and not just deployment, but making sure this infrastructure is maintained in a highly quality way, so and you can rely on it, just like the infrastructure we have. I think that would be a major challenge for us.
Well, but you know what? If anyone can meet that challenge, I think it's Hong Kong. I think we are one of the most trusted city around the world, and that's why all the money come to Hong Kong. Now, there's one more question. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to take this one. What's the role of technology when we come out of COVID? You know what? I think for one thing, with the pandemic, I mean, it's a very tragic thing around the world, but from a technology standpoint, I think we are now a lot more used to, working from home, doing video conference. I think the new normal, I think will be a lot more reliance on technology. I think it also helps people to appreciate what technology can bring to them. I think that, challenges, COVID's one, there will be others in the future. And I think that, I always tell people innovation in technology, they are not a product. They're a way of life. These are tools. These are means to make sure that we continue to be competitive. We continue to stay connected. When we continue to bring up our, raise our intelligence to make sure that our safety, our quality of life, and our efficiency continue to go up. So I do think that technology is going to play a very, very key role coming out from COVID. You know, it is a very tragic event, but I do believe that, you know, there will be challenges in front of us, and we're there to meet it. So, Rex, you know, again, really appreciate your time today to join me for the talk, and well, look forward to you know, seeing you guys, you know, out there somewhere.
Thank you.